My name is Esther Izarnotegui. I'm originally from Lima, Peru. Moving to Canada has been a great experience for my family and I. As my husband received an invitation to work here, we moved to Peterborough with our 3 children. And since then, we fell in love with our community. Because he has a good level of English, that's why he got the job. And my kids, they learn really quick the language. It was not an issue for them. But for me, I struggled a lot with the language. I remember my first days here. My only way to connect with people was smiling and nodding. Once, we went to a grocery store, and the lady at the register, she was passing the products by the scan, and she was beep, beep. And when she finished, she told me, "Okay, tap when you're ready." And I looked at her, and what do you think I did? Smile and nod. So she looked at me like waiting for something, and my husband told me in Spanish, "You didn't get what she said, right?" Ni una sola palabra, not a single word. We had to learn many things different between our cultures. For example, for Latinos in general, it's very exciting to see a friend. We are very expressive. And I remember once we went to the store, and in the beginning I didn't have many friends because I was just learning the language, and that's the first thing you need to have friends, right? So at that moment, I saw at the end of that store somebody doing this. And I was thinking, "Oh, I know you." And I was so excited to see a familiar face that I began to walk towards her, opening my arms, ready to hug her. And when I was getting close to her, she was like, and she changed her face, and I just hugged her so hard. And she was like, It was like hugging a tree. That's how I learned that we don't have to be that expressive in the beginning. Anyway, now we are very close friends, and we laugh about that. Language, it was not the only thing we had to learn. We had to learn about the weather too. For example, I remember when our kids, they went to school. It was February. Snow, lots of snow. And in Lima, we don't have any snow at all. So for us, it took us forever to get ready just to go to the bus stop every single morning. One morning, we were getting ready with our kids. Snow pants, coat, hat, gloves. It took forever to do it. And when we opened the door, the snow was so high that it reached our knees. So we thought, "Oh no, it's going to take us longer than usual to get to the bus stop. Anyway, let's go, kids." So we began to walk slowly, right? It was really beautiful and white, but lots of snow. And when we get to the bus stop, we waited and waited and waited. And the bus never came. So we told our kids, "I'm sorry, guys, we have to go walking to the school." We walked to the school, and it was maybe 15 blocks. We left our kids there, and my husband and I, we walked back to our house. Like a couple of hours later, we received a phone call from the school. The lady was asking us if we were going to pick up our kids from the school. And we asked her, "But the school bus is not bringing them back?" And she said, "Well, when it's a snow day, the school buses, they don't run." And we asked her, "And what is a snow day?" And that's how we learn about the snow days. Because in Lima, the city where we are from, the weather is pretty much the same. We don't have to switch our shoes every time. We don't have necessarily indoor shoes or outdoor shoes. So you can hear moms most of the time running after the kids saying, "Hey, put your shoes on. Don't leave your shoes there." But it's because the socks are going to get dirty, and it's different there. So we have to be after our kids, asking them not to walk without shoes. When we came to Canada, it was totally the opposite. Hey, take off your shoes. Don't you wear your shoes inside the house. Hey, leave your shoes at the door. My poor kids, they maybe thought that I was losing my mind. Food, weather, community, recycling, there are so many things we now understand because being part of this community, volunteering in some places, gave me the opportunity to get to know the wonders of this culture. I'm so grateful because the very next day we arrived to this country, we had an appointment at the New Canadian Center. They were waiting for us because a volunteer there who was ready to welcome us, he got everything for us to settle. So there was a lady who had already a taxi cab waiting for us to drive us to the school for our kids, to know the place, to know the teachers, and we went there. Some of the students were waiting for my kids. They even had some cards and signs of welcome to my kids. That was overwhelming for us. We are so thankful that because at the New Canadian Center, my kids got a nice place to call home. They loved the school and they had a very easy way to get in this new life for them. Today, I'm able to look back to those days and not laugh, but I also remember that I had continuous fights with my own thoughts, thinking all the time about the possibility of being rejected or maybe not be able to feel accepted in this new life I was living. I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart that I met wonderful people at the New Canadian Center because they not only taught me English, they taught me to be myself, to be more confident, to be free of all those thinking. And now I can be a volunteer in many places because of that. I learned not only the language, I learned about the Canadian culture with them because every class I had at the New Canadian Center, they gave us a new whole thing about the Canadian culture. And I learned that I had to accept my culture, living in this new culture, and I love it. I personally think that it is one's own choice to build up or strengthen the good aspects of every culture. You and I, we have to decide because we have the power in our hands to keep building in our society.
This has been a Living Library presentation on Esther Izarnotegui's story of coming to Canada and settling in Peterborough. Please stay tuned. In a few moments, we'll have a question and answer segment with Esther. Hello, Esther. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm doing really well, thank you.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. And how are you and the family doing given the current circumstances with the pandemic?
Actually, we are kind of busy now. My kids, they have to do, online schooling and homework. So we are busy with that.
Yeah.
And because the weather is changing, that it makes us the opportunity of doing more things outside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can't complain.
Yeah. I can complain. I think it's too hot. But that's just me. I prefer when it's a little bit colder. So I really would like to say thank you so much for sharing your story and for sharing it so well. And in your story, you shared so well. You're such a wonderful storyteller, using so many important lessons, so many humorous moments, and talking about so many first experiences. And your family of three moved to Canada. Your family with three kids
Yes.
moved to Canada. So there are certainly a lot of first moments for you all. How did your kids adapt to a new country and to a new school system?
Well, for them, it was actually very smooth. They were excited about everything. First of all, snow. We arrived here and it was completely white, and we don't have snow in Lima, in the city where we are from.
Yeah.
And they were so excited about that they didn't care about the cold or anything. They were just happy.
Yeah.
And the way we got to the school was so perfect for us. The arrangement that the New Canadian Center did for our kids was just overwhelming, and that helped not only my kids but me as a mom. I was so calm,
Yeah.
thinking I was not on. It was not only me. I had a institution like the New Canadian Center taking care for me and my kids, and that was a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so a year ago, when I first spoke to you about speaking and sharing your story, you said something to me that I thought was very beautiful. You told me that Peterborough is like your drop of heaven. So I'm wondering, what is it about Peterborough that is your drop of heaven?
Well, when I was in my country, the life I was having there, it was very stressful.
Yeah.
I live in a very hard moment, and I thought that everybody was having that kind of life.
Right.
I had like anxious moments
Mm-hmm.
many times, and I honestly thought that was normal until I came here, and I could enjoy not only the nature, the beauty of the place, because it's beautiful, it's gorgeous to be here, it's just beautiful. But the fact of living with people who they don't know you, but they are kind, they are respectful.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's contagious. I mean, you receive that kindness and you want to be kind with them.
Yeah.
For example, now with all this pandemic situation, it's overwhelming how the community is responding to help others. I was helping with some masks.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
helping
beautiful.
a lady who she does those masks, and I was helping her. And seeing people looking all the time how to help others, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And as I said before, it's contagious. You want to do it, and that's that's a lot. Here is a place where just be yourself, and there's no judge around, right?
Yeah.
I love the fact that my kids can be safe all the time.
Mm.
That's a lot for me, a lot.
So beautiful. I'm so happy that you found this to be a safe space for you here in Peterborough, and that we found you as well in Peterborough and at the NCC. I think it's so important. Everyone wants to be somewhere where they feel safe and where they feel at home and feel like they belong. So I think that's so important. And on that note of home and belonging, those aren't always things that are easy for people to understand, especially as a newcomer. So I'm interested in 6 years later here in Canada, how do you think about the idea of home and belonging?
Well, after 6 years, my kids are half Canadians, half Peruvian. So in the beginning, it was hard for me to find the balance between my culture, because I was so grateful to be here. But at the same time, I didn't want my kids to lose their own culture, right? As Latinos, as Peruvians. And it was hard for me to keep that. But I learned how to be part of the Canadian culture. And we now have a perfect mix. It's a match between our culture and the Canadian. In our blood is Peruvian, but our heart is totally Canadian. I mean, that sounds cheesy, but it's true. It's our dream. It's our dream to see our kids growing here and to have a future here, because it's a beautiful place to go home.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you said in your story, and when you arrived, you didn't speak English, so you were afraid of speaking, and you shared a couple of those stories, like at the grocery store and so on, and you started coming to the NCC to learn English. How did it feel to first arrive at the NCC? What made you want to come here to learn English, and how long did it take you to feel like you could speak out in public and have that confidence?
So the only way to connect with people and to go against my feelings about I'm not going to make it here, it's so totally different, it was learning the language. I didn't have an option. Yeah. Plus, I knew my kids, they were going to learn very quick, and I didn't want to be left behind with the language, right? So I tried to do every class at the New Canadian Center, knowing that it's free and you can grab a coffee, some cookies, and be with people like you, that they are learning like you. So there's no judgment at all. And the thing that motivated me to begin to speak in groups, in big groups, was the facilitators. I have to tell that Diane Concilla and Susan Lawrence, they both make a huge impact in my life, not only with the language. They helped me to be confident enough to do it. So our main thing when you don't speak the language is to make mistakes. Yeah. Making mistakes with the pronunciation or grammar, or but they made us feel comfortable every time. Even when they correct us, it was in a kind way, and we didn't feel bad at all. We wanted to go there again, and we expected for the next class so bad, because we knew we were learning and we were welcome there. Yeah. And it was, as I said before, it's a safe place to be. It is.
I'm so glad to hear that, and I'm so glad that you've been coming ever since for classes and groups and volunteering now. Basically, since you arrived in Canada, and you've had a number of volunteer roles at the NCC, including at our Multicultural Canada Day Festival, where you've volunteered every year since you've been here in Canada. You facilitated our women's group. You've been at our front desk covering the reception area. So I'm wondering, how has that helped you in your adjustment to Canada?
Well, volunteering, the first thought I had about volunteering was because I had wonderful teachers who helped me, and they were volunteers that inspired me to be a volunteer. And I didn't speak English yet when I decided to be a volunteer, because we arrived on February, and July 1st, Canada Day, I was volunteering. And I communicate, it was like signs and smiling and trying to
Yeah.
to tell people what I was trying to say, right?
Right.
But now I can talk, I can speak, I can write,
Mhm.
but my challenge is to answer the phone, for example.
Mm.
If you call me, I'm not going to answer the phone. Don't do it. I rather text message or something else. But the phone is something that made me very, very anxious and nervous because I need to see face to face
Mm.
the other person to understand the, how do you say that?
Expressions?
Expressions, that's correct.
Mhm.
Expressions to understand completely. Plus, I feel more confident when they see me.
Right.
So by the phone, there's nothing about that. You have
Right.
to talk, listen, and it's really hard because the accent, or sometimes people speak too quick, or it's hard for me.
Yeah.
I struggle a lot. That's why I decide to challenge myself and now the reception at the front, because I don't have an option there. I have to answer the phone because that's my job. So that's how I'm challenging myself to
Wow.
improve the language and to connect with people, right? Because the most we grow with our language, the most we can do here. And yep, it's not easy. I'm getting there, slowly getting there.
That's so wonderful to hear. I think for many people, we face so many things, and the only way we can overcome them is if we face them head on. So it's really good to hear that you've noticed that and that you are working on improving that. How long have you been volunteering at the front desk?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe 2 years.
Years. Have you noticed that it's helped you improve with your language and
Yeah,
with your phone?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now I'm not scared. Every time the phone rings, I can answer the
Yeah.
phone, and because I'm more fluent
Yeah.
in the language. I'm still learning. It's not perfect. My vocabulary is short, but when you challenge yourself, your brain works. And the best place for me to do it is at the New Canadian Center. It's my safe place, and yeah, I'm happy to do it there. And the fact that I was volunteering helped me with my daughter, who is a teenager now. She's 17, and because she's a high schooler, she needs to cover some volunteer hours. And she asked me to do it with me, and I told her, but you can go with your friends, why with me, right? It's unusual to have a teenager asking her mom to go to do the volunteer time. But she said something that I will never forget. She said, every time you come back from your volunteer time, you come so joyful and just happy, and I want that. I want to do that with you. I want to see why are you so joyful when you go to the you volunteer. I know I'm not going to get that with my friends. And then she's coming with me. She's coming with me 3 years now. Yeah.
That's good. You were inspired by your volunteer facilitators, that you became a volunteer, and now you're inspiring her to also.
Yeah. It's a chain.
Yeah,
Right?
it's a reaction. Yeah.
I learned from the facilitators to be a volunteer, and now my daughter
Um,
is doing it.
I'm so glad to hear that, and I'm so glad that you've been coming ever since for classes and groups and volunteering now as well. And I also want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. I say this every time you speak, but I learn something new every time you speak, and I'm always every time I hear your story and I hear what you say, I'm always inspired by you and your family. So thank you so much for doing this. We had to cancel a number of speaking engagements because of the pandemic. So thanks for joining on board and sharing your story online and facing it as something new and doing this remotely and virtually. So thank you so much, Esther. It was really great to chat with you today and hear your story. And I think many of your friends will now see it posted online and they will know a little bit more about Esther. And yeah,
And thanks for the invitation. It's my pleasure.
absolutely. Thank you so much.